Cleveland Browns at the Indianapolis Colts. Browns favored by 2.5 in Indy. Remember, Gardner Minshew is the starter now for the Colts, and Anthony Richardson officially did have his season-ending shoulder surgery. Just to touch on that quickly, you heard statements from Jim Irsay, who they dealt with all the Andrew Luck injuries, the pesky shoulder and drama, and they wanted Luck to come back, and Luck went to Europe, and all sorts of stuff. And I think Irsay said something along the lines of, I've learned patience, as in, get the surgery, we'll see you next year.
Yeah, protect your star quarterback so that he doesn't retire randomly in the middle of preseason rather than face another year of pain and misery and getting hurt.
We're going to try to avoid that.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Speaking of shoulders, Deshaun Watson dealing with his rotator cuff injury. He's got to work on that scapula strength. So to improve your shoulder, it's all about thoracic mobility and scapula strength.
Yeah?
Yeah. So that's what you need to do. That's what Watson needs to do.
Yeah. You should call him up.
A little sleeper stretch.
Is that weird thing that they do in all the warm-up preseason things where you see them looking like
these
waving?
Things?
Yeah.
No, it's not so much that. It's more of a static stretch here.
Okay.
That's probably more important for baseball players than football players. But every time you throw, your arm, jacks back into external rotation, and it creates an imbalance. So you want to balance that out with better internal rotation. So those are the types of things Watson should be working on right now for that rotator cuff.
Okay. Is it time to just turn the keys over to PJ? That's what the people are asking.
On one hand, he's got the best winning percentage of all time for Cleveland Browns starting quarterbacks.
Can't argue with that.
Otto Graham? Nope.
Not Otto.
PJ.
PJ.
On the other hand, I know PFF grades aren't gospel, but he did have a 26 last week.
Oh, was it that bad?
At least passing-wise.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, no, I would not turn it over to PJ.
That's ass.
PJ also had one of the best games of the NFL season last year out of nowhere. So you just never know when that's going to hit.
You just never know what you're going to get with PJ.
Yeah. So I wouldn't do that. We talked a little bit about the Browns defense yesterday. That did not go over well with Browns fans.
Shocking.
But they are playing on the whole, they're playing really well this year, the Browns defense. And they played well against the Niners. They're also playing 8% more man coverage than any other team in the league.
Because they're blitzing the crap, or not blitzing, they're dialing up pressure at an absurd design constantly and just letting those guys go play.
They are I think the best way to sum them up is they are just it's like you saw it in week 1 against the Bengals, and there were other factors it felt back in week 1, but even every week since that point, it's just difficult throws, low percentage throws, and they're doing a good job of that. And Myles Garrett has been pretty much unblockable, and all of Myles Garrett's friends that they brought in are playing pretty well, and it's creating, right now, the best defense in the league.
Reactions to that explain the grade thing make me wonder, are we just inarticulate chumps, or do people are people unable to listen to words that come out of your mouth and actually relay back what was said?
Probably both.
Right, okay.
It's probably both. No, I'd rather blame other people. There's stuff like I don't think Myles Garrett created pressure on the Brock Purdy interception. He was behind Purdy. Maybe Purdy short-armed it because he knew Myles Garrett was behind. Myles Garrett was 10 yards behind the quarterback. That's not pressure.
But
and he was engaged with the tackle. That's not really pressure.
You make a general point that there were plays where the Browns defense did not do anything, and yet a lack of execution by the 49ers offense leads to different results than performance, right? Which is effectively luck on a given play that you weren't punished for the gap that was there. And people come out of that and they're like, oh, you're saying the Browns are the luckiest defense of all time? No. Those are not the same things. What are you listening to?
Some people said that. And look, I just got criticized recently for responding to the people too much this year. I have been responding to stuff too much this year.
Elon sucked you back in.
But a lot of the Browns fans' feedback was more on the touchy-feely side. And I actually could agree with that. The touchy-feely side being Purdy got hit hard early in the game, and that threw him off. He was seeing ghosts. He was uncomfortable because of – there's something to that. I agree. There's something to that might actually not show up in the grades. right? But you can't put a grade on. We're not going to put a grade on, well, Purdy, got hit in the third play, therefore, of course he's going to miss throws. Give all the positives to the Browns. There were still plays in there that he normally hits that he missed. And that was the point we were trying to make yesterday. So
Yeah.
Browns defense still very good.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, they could make absolute hay this week. Like, look what happened to Gardner Minshew last week. Now he's going up against a much better defense that just turned Brock Purdy into a pumpkin, albeit with the benefit of some of those quote-unquote lucky plays and, weather and stuff. Like, dude, this could be a bloodbath against Gardner Minshew.
Steve is a man of the people. Oh, Tyler's in there. He's upset. Tyler's in there saying Sam and Steve with Brown slander. He doesn't like that.
Look, if you're not in the booth, you don't get to comment in the chat.
Sure he does. It's good for the algorithm. Keep chatting, Tyler. Could you spam the chat, please, Tyler, for the algorithm? Could you do it? Go Browns. Go Browns. Go Browns. Go Browns. Browns by 2.5. Yeah, Minshew has not been good as a starter. Another guy that's tough to figure out because...
Except that first 6 weeks of his career.
Yeah, except that first 6 weeks. He's on the Mac Jones
arc.
Yes, which is here to...
Best thing you ever see is right out of the gate and then like...
That makes no sense. So yeah, I think Minshew might struggle a little bit against this Browns defense, but again, I don't trust P.J. Walker as the starter for the Browns. They don't necessarily have the same run game that they did, obviously, with Nick Chubb. I'll still take the Browns to cover here, though, because of their defense, because of what they have done from a pass rush standpoint and the fact that they're playing tight man coverage and making life difficult for QBs.
Yeah, I mean, the point we were making is how good that defense is generally does not necessarily impact how it graded in a specific game, but it does impact what it's likely to do going forward. So it is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and going up against Gardner Minshew, who was just blindly throwing the ball to opposing players last week against a worse defense. Now, I doubt Minshew plays that badly simply because that was like an all-time low, but I mean, this is the kind of defense that can cause major problems for him.